Bonjour from Montreal, where the circuit is fast, the walls are closed, and the drama is even closer. This is the Paddock Girls podcast, and it's time for the 2025 Grand Prix. The Wall of Champions is hungry, the weather is moody, and the paddock tension thick enough to slice with a front wing. Literally. Will Oscar keep his title hopes alive, or will Ferrari fumble another strategy call in the name of heritage? Whether it's wild overtakes in famous safety cars or Lance Stroll trying to impress his home crowd, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve always serves drama with a side of French flair. On today's episode, we have me, Melissa, Hannah, and Chelsea behind the scenes. So pour yourself a strong espresso, throw on your Lucky Team merch, and settle in, because in Montreal, nothing stays on track for long. Now, we don't have our girl Amy on today's episode for her classic circuit updates this week, but no worries, because we've got you covered. Now, one of the first updates to the track is that there was improvement to the drainage at turns 2, 8, 10, and 13, where small cuts were made into the curbs.
We also had some track service grinded to remove bumps on turn 12, which we saw in previous years. And then the runoff behind turn 8 and 9 was regraded and a paved path was created. This also helps with them being able to remove cars in the event of safety.
And then we saw some realignment of the width of the white line at turn 4 and 8 with 1.8 meters to the wall.
Then the concrete wall on turn 8 was extended, and the realignment of the width of the white line on turn 14 was 1.8 meters to the wall, and added another blue line as just a FYI to the drivers.
And then lastly, they blacked the end of the orange paint at the rejoin of the runoff at turn 13. Whatever that means, that was like whole mumble jumble to say, and even typing it out, because I was just like, I have no idea what this means, but okay, can I tell? No, I cannot tell where all this stuff happens. So
I think it's a little confusing, because you see these stuff, you understand it, but then where you're like, where is this at the track, and how does this go into each other, and what is what?
Mm-hmm. Unless
from a technicality.
Yeah, and it's just it's such little minor minute details you won't notice unless if it's something big where they take off a chicane or improve a certain area where drivers are constantly driving off.
Mm-hmm.
So
you almost need to walk the track with them to really understand what they're pointing out and the differences, especially when it comes to the resurfacing. You might go, it looks good, but they're like, this is very bumpy.
Yeah. Yeah. Or it might be really smooth too, where it's so new where it hasn't even been touched yet. So I know it's usually that over here whenever there's new pavement, cement, new road stuff on the ground.
Always.
Now, for the Canadian Grand Prix this year, there wasn't really much fun per se with deliveries and the special helmets, special race suits and everything. I wish Lance had done something, because this is his home race.
Missed opportunity.
For real, because I don't think Fernando even did something for the Spanish Grand Prix for his own helmet. So I don't know if it's an Aston thing or it's just a them thing. Well, we'll leave it at that. But it's literally, we need, pay homage to your home races. Come on, guys, have fun with it. But we did have some F1 Academy action going on. And if I remember correctly, they had 3 races because they had to cancel one of the races in Miami because of the rain. So instead of 2, we had 3. And race 1 winner, we had Dorian Pin.
Okay, the Iron Dames, for anybody who doesn't know, Dorian Pin races alongside them, especially endurance side. They reposted the win on socials, which was a highlight for anybody who loves that. Though I was surprised to not see her at the Le Mans this year, but the dates, I guess, just didn't align.
Yeah, you would think she would go, but I guess the Academy does take some priority. But I did think it was cute how Lewis was there for the podium to celebrate her accomplishment. I just love the relationship between them, because I know in the F1 Academy docuseries she mentions how essentially she looks up to him and she's like, it's a shame he's leaving Mercedes, and I'm like, oh, we're all a Lewis fans.
it almost looked like she went directly to him after getting off the podium. Like, oh, Lewis is there. Went directly to them. And that hug that that was posted on social media, I was like...
And completely valid because, I mean, who wouldn't go up to Lewis after a win if you see him there? But it's also nice to see that he's one of the few drivers that goes and watches these races and supports the girls, because we've talked about before. I think a lot more of the drivers should. If they're able
really
to.
Should.
If they're able to, because we know they're busy, but if they're able to,
it should be a part of their contract.
Yeah, at
like
least
media.
like a few. And it's not like it's every race weekend. So if Lewis can do
at
it,
least the podium.
yeah. If Lewis can do it, and we know that man is booked and busy, anyone else can. So I think it'd just be nice to see like that team camaraderie, the team togetherness, you know what I mean, within them, like seeing the guys like support the girls and all that stuff, because there's already stuff going on with the separation and everything of girls
There's
racing
always
and
something.
boys racing. But anywho, now in race 2, I'm gonna mispronounce her last name, so please forgive me. Race 2, we had winner Emma Feldemar. Thank you, Hannah. Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Feldemar. She is Dutch. And this one actually surprised me because I was not expecting a Sauber on the podium, but I love it and we'll take it as always. At least it's somewhere.
Listen, it's funny because I know last year, Chloe Chambers, she got a podium for Haas, and I think she was the first driver in general since Haas has been racing in F1 to earn a podium. So, I mean, it just goes to show girls can do it better than boys.
Always.
If we're being honest. And it's nice seeing, those other teams that are not as big as like, Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren, the little like I don't want to say underdogs, the midfield teams, the lower field teams, finish out on top. It's a nice variation. And then, as I mentioned, Chloe Chambers, she took the win for race 3. Very excited for her. I like cheering on for her a lot.
I don't know if you saw this, but Chloe's dad was crying during the podium and he was so happy. I don't remember the exact verbiage of his shirt, but it was like proud dad shirt, and my heart just shattered because it was so cute and it was sweet. And then he was also blocking like a Red Bull worker, and he like grabbed him and pulled him to the front. He's like, I'm not taking the thunder of the team, but like, oh my God.
Listen, he might be a girl dad, and we all know girl dads take pride when their girls do well. And also the fact that she won on Father's Day and he was there, like, what a Father's Day gift.
I know. One for the books.
Yes, definitely. I loved it. And plus, parents, if they're there, why shouldn't they not be up there seeing their kids shine? Whether it's a race win or a podium finish, I mean, it's a big moment regardless. Now, we gotta go into the meat and bones of race weekend, and it had its exciting moments for sure. Now, in FP1, nothing big happened except the fact that it hurts me to say Charles had locked up at a turn and found himself into the walls, bringing out a yellow flag. It was pain. It was a lot. But the top 3 for that session, we had Max. And a surprise from an underdog team. We had Alex in P2 and Carlos in P3. Now, the bottom 5, we had Gabriel, Ollie, Esteban, Franco, and Nico.
There was also noticeably lockups and spins from Kimi, Lando, and Lewis this session. And Lewis mentioned in media post-practice that he hinted at an early set-up fine-tuning that needed to be done prior to the race weekend going on.
Interesting. Yeah, because I know like the commenters have mentioned, this track is one of the more difficult tracks to drive on. I mean, we know the curse of the Wall of the Champions and everything, where some drivers do end up finding themselves there, which is never fun.
I don't know if I love it or I hate it.
No, exactly. I mean, we love a little drama, but at the same time, it's like... it can be too much. Too stressful. Now, going into FP2, again, the same thing as the last session. Not much happened incident-wise. The biggest thing was just that, again, the bad luck for Charles continues because he wasn't able to participate in this session due to the damages from the first practice session, quote, as the survivor cell of his SF-23 needs to be replaced.
That's crazy.
It
and
is.
Then the top three were George in first, Lando in second, and third, the underdog, Kimi.
Which I love to see him up there. Especially as like any rookie in general, I like seeing in the top three.
Mm-hmm. It's so early still in the season for that. So to see that, it's like, whoa. Like, that man can drive. And then the bottom five was Yuki, Ollie, Esteban, Franco, and Lance. I think this practice session was the most I've heard drivers complain about impeding, and that's saying something for like a race like Monaco.
You mean Montreal?
Well, I meant like Monaco as like Monaco always has a lot of like impeding issues because it's so like
it's
tight.
So small.
But I felt like I heard it a lot more over like the Canadian, like this past weekend than in previous ones, and I was just like, what's going on?
Yeah, there was a lot of comments going around, a lot of sassy radios. Yeah, there was just a lot of like sassiness with the radios, a lot of, I don't want to say back talking, but drivers definitely stood their ground with some of the stuff that we'll get into it very, very shortly. But yeah, no, I agree with the impeding. I think there's a bunch of like FIA regulations like noting impeding or like noting something happened that shouldn't be happening, but I just think it happens because they may see one driver get away with it, and then they're like, okay, well, such and such driver did it. Let me try it now because I'll get away with it. Just a thought. Just an idea. I don't know. I'm probably wrong. Don't listen to me. Now, going to FP3, again, not that much craziness at the beginning, but the biggest news was that Yuki was given a 10-place grid penalty before the race for overtaking under a red flag. He can't get a break either, and I feel really bad for him.
At this point, I'm like, can we just take him back down to V-Carb? Because that man was driving impeccable in V-Carb, and it's almost like as soon as he went to Red Bull, it was cursed. Like, the second seat just cursed him, and it's like, it's not fair.
It's every single driver, because now Liam's doing really good in V-Carb, and it's like, I don't want Isaac going in there because it's going to, like, it's just, I don't want the same thing that happened to Checo happening to these drivers, the same thing that happened to Danny happening to these drivers, and I get it, Max is your number one driver, but something's going on with that second car that needs some looking at. Some questions need to be asked on what's going on, because if Yuki was doing so great at the beginning of the season before the switch, what's going on now?
This is what they need to do. Burn the car.
Mm-hmm.
Burn both cars.
Yes.
Start from
Burn the
scratch.
whole headquarters, if we're being honest.
Remove the curse. Let's start over and build the car around drivers, not a driver.
Mm-hmm.
For anybody who knows what I mean, you know what I mean.
If you know, you know.
Mm-hmm. But the top three from FP3 was Lando in first, Charles in second, and George in third. And then the bottom five were Esteban, Franco, Nico, Gabriel, and Yuki. And then during FP3, Oscar clipped the wall of champions, triggering a red flag in this session, but it didn't end the session. And then Nico Hulkenberg also spun into the same barrier shortly after.
It's like a known fact. Like, it's not the Canadian Grand Prix unless someone gets into the wall of champions, which is, it's ironic. I feel like it's like,
kind of feel like it needs to change the name at this point. Like, maybe if you change it, it stops the curse.
Maybe to like Wall of like Legends.
I like it.
There you F1, take notes. Listen to us, please. Pay me if you guys change it. Now, going into quali, it wasn't too hectic, except the fact, and it's so funny to think about it. Alex Albon was driving, and his car literally blew apart on the track. I was so confused. And then like Chris is just like, oh my God. And I'm like, what? And he's just like, look at his car. And I was just like, oh, oh shit. What happened? We saw the replay and we're just like, what on earth just took place? And it brought out a red flag into the session. I feel bad for Williams. I feel like they have like war flashbacks whenever something happens to their car.
I just want to know how it happens.
Yeah, because I don't think they explained.
They didn't.
Yeah, and I'm not.
You would think that they'd like release a statement at least. At least the fire, there wasn't like a major fire to the point like we go back to like 2018.
Yeah.
But I was like, whoa. And then there's mechanics that literally have to rebuild it.
Yeah, and it just goes to show like how fragile, how delicate these cars are, that like the high speeds that they're going clearly has a lot of power, because it literally just like went apart. Is it the G-forces? That's the only thing I can think of, but again, I'm not an engineer or whatever, those people that work on the car, the aerodynamics and everything. I just want to know what happened. That's all. That honestly, that's all.
And then out in Q1, we had Gabrielle, breaks my heart saying this, Carlos, Lance, Liam, and Pierre.
Yeah. Carlos was definitely not happy about that elimination.
This wasn't his weekend.
It wasn't Williams' weekend, if we're being honest.
Mm-hmm.
I felt so bad because, like, afterward, I think he was complaining about, like, one of the other drivers. Like, I think it was, like, either Franco or... I think it was Franco, like, impeding and everything, like, cutting him off during, like, one of the speed laps that he does and everything. But he just sounded so defeated. And you gotta feel for the guy because he's a great driver, as Alex is, but the cars are just not up to par with their driving skills, unfortunately, which...
He's probably also not used to it because he came from Ferrari, which had its share of downfalls, but at least was a consistent top field car. And then to be in the middle / like bottom field, depending on the weekend, it's going to be hard for a driver who's still probably even trying to adapt to like a team and the car.
Yeah, yeah, I can just imagine how he feels right now. Hopefully he's gained a lot of shoulders to lean on from Alex, because he's also been... I totally get what you're saying though, Hannah. Going from a top team. I mean, the only thing I can think of is like Carlos and Alex probably, like, when they finish up in the top 3 during practices, they're like, okay, cool. We can probably do it in quali, and then we can probably do it in the race, and then come those 2 events, it's like, nothing happens. Yeah. It's not fun to watch. Now, going into Q2, the drama continues where Ocon was actually noted by race control for failing to adhere to the racing director. Essentially, he did just not follow directions. A grown man. Not surprised. But, anywho, what killed me this session was Yuki complaining and saying that George needed a penalty for overtaking in the pit lane. All I had to say to that, Yuki, I love you, but my dude, your teammate does this often. And not only your teammate, but other drivers do this too. If someone's taking too long in the pit lane, they overtake. And I think it was like something they implied where like you're not supposed to anymore, but the FIA is going to FIA.
Yeah, then if that was the case, they would be handing out a lot of penalties, because I swear I see that every race from multiple drivers.
Exactly.
Like, what are you talking about? I get you, man, but like, really?
Exactly. There's bigger things to worry about besides someone overtaking in the pit lane, Yuki, right now.
There's bigger fish to fry in the sea. I think that's the statement.
Yeah. AKA, we gotta fry your car, Yuki. That's what we gotta do.
I'll bring the torch.
For real.
And then out in Q2, we had Yuki, Franco, Nico, Ollie, and Esteban.
Now, Q3 essentially went without anything happening. I usually hope for a good quality session because quality does bring a lot of good drama and everything. It's usually before cars are fixed up or those final touches are being made. But disregarding all the penalties that went through and all the craziness that happened, the top 10 for the weekend ahead, we had George in P1, followed by Max in P2, Oscar in P3, Kimi in P4, Lewis in P5, which I noticed Kimi and Lewis have been ending up next to each other. It's either Lewis and Kimi or Lewis and Isaac, which I think is really cute.
Fate.
Exactly. Fernando in P6, Lando in P7, Charles in P8. Don't talk to me about that. I'm still upset over it. Alex in P9, and Isaac in P10. I love when my little rookie is in that top. I think Isaac is still keeping up his streak as being as like the only rookie that has made it through Q3. So, yes. Now, again, some stuff always happens before the race. And we actually got news that Pierre had to start from the pit lane, and also Liam. They had similar issues where Pierre had a new power unit without the approval from the FIA, and Liam also had something new. It was either with his power unit or his engine that he also had a pit start, which was very interesting. I feel like Alpine just can never catch a break, but I think that's another curse that they have that they need to clear out somehow. I don't know if burning down, sage, egg cleanse, some voodoo, something, but we all know how we feel about their team principal right now, and I think that's something to do there. But anyways, now going into said race, I have to give kudos to the guy. George had one hell of a great start. That man got away beautifully. Literally.
He like took off.
And I was kind of like hoping for like some good action between him and Max, because I don't know if you saw the post quali interview where he's like, well, he only has like 1 point on his license until he's suspended, and everyone's like, oh, George.
Sassy George is back. It's also, we usually get crazy like jumps from Max at the start of every race to where you're like, that's where his true racing like shows. So to see like George like take off, it was like, have you been holding out on us?
Yeah, exactly. I was just like, oh, okay. Because like usually it's funny with George, because usually like he keeps his head down low during the race, and somehow he always ends up in the podium. It's always so funny. So it's like in this instance, like him just taking off like that was just like, oh, you got it in you, my good sir. Love to see it. Now, as always in lap 1, we always get the good action, the crazy overtakes, the crazy collisions, incidents, and everything. And I have to say, that lap 1 battle between Alex and Franco, yeah, Hannah, that was me watching that too. I was just like, oh my god. It was great to watch. It was very entertaining because they were going wheel to wheel in that, and they were getting pretty close. I enjoyed it, because who doesn't love a good midfield, backfield action without too much chaos? We like a little spice, but not too spicy, right?
It gave off the beef ran deep vibes, but you don't know what the beef is.
It literally, like, what was it? They were just going at it. Like, hello? I was just like, oh. I was just like, okay, well, I was like, George already took off, so let's see what else is going on. All of a sudden, you just, like, cut to, like, Alex and Franco just, like, going wheel to wheel, and I was just like, oh my god. Like, I was just like, please don't knock each other out, because don't want that. Now, the Williams bad luck just continues, because around the 12th lap, Williams had informed Alex that they were having similar power unit issues as they did in Barcelona, but, quote, not as bad. Not as bad. I wouldn't know how I feel about that if I got that and they're like, but it's not as bad. Like, so don't worry about it. Like, no big deal, you know? Like,
I want to know what is not as bad. Like, what does that mean? Is it like a scale of 1 to 5? Like 1 being like you're good, your power unit is normal. 3, you might have issues. 5, if immediate danger.
Right. Like can we get like a scale and just have like James be like, it's at a 5 right now. That's how bad. Or not as bad. Is it like a 2, 3?
I would hope it was a 2 or 3. I would assume that if it was a 5, it'd be like, hey, we got to retire the car.
Right. Which we'll get into that in a little bit. But again,
and craziness.
No, seriously. I mean, what is F1 without some craziness, right?
Speaking of, Alex's sassy radio message after a bunch of back-to-back midfields ended up pitting, and then Alex had said, I really don't understand why you don't listen to me. It really annoys me over the radio over the fact that his team did not want him to pit and he wanted to pit with everybody else. And then when he finally pitted, he was in P20.
I wish, and this is not the only time it happens with the drivers, where the engineers don't listen to them, or the pit crew and everything don't listen to them. And I really wish they would take the driver's feedback more into consideration, because the data does say a lot. The performance, how the tires are doing, whatever, the engine and everything. But at the end of the day, like, the drivers are the ones driving the car. They feel the car. Some of them are tire whisperers. Some of them are engine whisperers. Some of them are just, in general, just know the car like the back of their hand. And I would hope majority of them do, if not all 20. I don't know. I think they should just really just have more faith in what their drivers say.
Not only that, the drivers see or feel more of the car than probably what the engineers see just from the data. It's one thing to see the data, it's another thing to drive the physical car and feel. Especially when it comes to like tire degradation, is the data might show it's not as bad, but they're slipping and sliding and not having any traction. And so while some teams thought that this was a one-stop race, other teams were like, oh no, this is a 2 or 3. And it's really hard to see that. And with the temperatures being so hot on the track, a lot of teams ended up opting for like a 2-stop pit. But then some teams who are like, I want a 1-stop, the driver's like, I need 2 stops.
Like it's hot. It didn't rain at all this weekend anyways either, as it did like in past years. So, which
is surprising for this time of year and the Canadian Grand Prix.
I think all the rain's over here in the East Coast instead of up there, because it's been raining nonstop. And the sassy radios just continues because Fernando's engineer says something to him about the speed or something about the lap. I forgot exactly what it was, but Fernando just goes, quote, "We're racing, not testing." He was so sad, like with his Spanish accent, like his Fernando attitude. Like I was just like, ooh. And he has a point, though. Like, they need the points. He needs the points at that. So it's like, oof, Fernando. But I love when they get sassy because, again, like Alex said, they don't listen sometimes. And I can imagine it can get pretty annoying if you're constantly saying, like, this is not working. Let's do this. Let's do that. And they don't take it into consideration, at least.
Yeah. I listened to that radio message because it was almost shortly after Alex's radio message, and I was just like, is it just me, or has this year we've seen more of the sassiness from the drivers in radio messages than we have in like past years? I was like, does someone take the handcuffs off?
I think
like F1 TV?
I think it's the fact that they can't curse, so they gotta figure out how to express their frustrations now.
I mean, where there's a will, there's a way.
Exactly. If they're just sassier now, it's okay, no big deal.
And then to add to the sassy race messages, Charles' engineer saying plan B and Charles replying and going, I think plan C. Then his engineer saying, I think we'll stay with plan B. Wow. Ferrari, come on.
Again, Ferrari, I'm over you guys.
Always.
Every single time I'm on the race recap, I'm like, I'm so over them. Every single time.
As I'm wearing a Leclerc shirt.
And the thing is, like, Leclerc is my driver, and I love Lewis too. Like, I'm a Tifosi, but it's just like, come on, guys, like, you guys need to get the F together. Like,
literally.
You guys are a legendary team. Like, I don't know what's going on with them. Like, at this point, something needs to give. We have a new team principal. He's still pretty fresh, so like I can't Fred's trying, so it's not like he's not. We have Charles, who's a great driver. He performed. We have a 7-time world champion in Lewis, who again we know can perform. At this point, if you ask me, I think we need new engineers. Something's got to give.
I also have to say that as a team that dominates in a lot of other sports series that they compete in, especially like Le Mans, for anybody who watched it, yeah, you would think that they would take some of the feedback that they've gotten or have seen from these other race series to help apply to F1. Yes, you probably have to think about it in a different format because different car structures, but come on. I also think that, again, like I mentioned before, it's one thing to see the data, it's another thing to drive the physical car or
feel the car
or fix the car. You know what I mean? Like, they all do different jobs and some don't correlate with one or the other, and I think it takes effective like communication skills.
Yeah, that's true. And we know Lewis is trying to learn Italian, so we're all, yeah, Mamma Mia, please. I only know Spanish, so like Mamma Mia is like the very like bare minimum of Italian I know. I don't know, something's just gotta give at this point in Ferrari, if I'm being honest. Like, it's something needs to change. Maybe it's taking some of the people from the Le Mans team over to F1, or like you said, Hannah, take some pointers from them, because there's a reason why we've won, what, 3 times in a row now? Yeah,
we've won every year since they've competed in World Endurance Championship. They started 3 years ago, and every year they've been on the podium in some way, shape, or form.
There you go. Like, come on now. Yeah, because I think like one team won first, and then a second team was like a different team, and third place was Ferrari again. I like being on podium, but I want to be first. I want to be winning championships. Please.
They deserve to be winning championships with their lineage,
with their drivers that they have, because again, they have a pretty strong driver lineup. It's not like they're weak or past their peak. Well, Lewis is a little past his peak, but he can still perform. Like, we've seen him win a sprint race, which is like the first one for Ferrari. So like, nonetheless, again, come on, please. And then, speaking of please, Stroll, please, I need you to think about your F1 career, because he was noted by race control for forcing Pierre off the track, and he received a 10-second penalty for Lance. Now listen, I love that his dad like supports his dreams of becoming an F1 driver. Any parent would, but at some point you gotta talk to the kid and be like, do you really want to do this? Because I feel like Lance just doesn't care sometimes, but that's my opinion on him. I know a lot of people like him, so sorry. Again, my opinion. He's an F1 driver, so I can't say he's not that great. He's there for a reason, but at the end of the day, something's gotta give too. Now we gotta go back to Alex, because he DNF'd around lap 45. A little over halfway through the race. And it brought out a yellow flag. The first one of the race, but nonetheless, he couldn't finish. Very sad. I have no words. I feel so bad for him and Williams as a whole.
It's just a bad race for Alex. I mean, it's a bad race for Williams, like you said. And it just makes you wonder, like, is it just a track? Is it a car thing? Is it a driver thing? The car I can't remember if it was a PU issue or if the car just kind of gave out, but he was at least able to pull off to the side to where the marshals were. So he wasn't out, like he wasn't directly like in the track, which made it pretty convenient, I guess, for him at least, and the marshals. But at the same time, it was like, poor man.
No,
like
literally.
He did not deserve it.
No, it's been a tough few weeks for Williams overall. Very tough few weeks, and hopefully they are able to turn it around. Hopefully very, very soon. Now,
for anybody who doesn't know, Lewis Hamilton ran over a groundhog.
Poor groundhog. I literally didn't know that until like we were on like I think it was Twitter, and Chris was just like, Lewis ran over a groundhog, and I was just like, huh? Who?
So it confused me because his radio message was like, I think I have damage. And his engineer was like, we're checking. And then they never came back on and specified what the damage was.
Hmm.
And it wasn't until after the race when he was doing interviews, I want to say it was Fred that said it caused damage to his floor, and and then Lewis had described it as devastating over the radio, though I don't remember hearing that exact radio. But I mean, I don't blame you, dude.
I would be. I get upset when like flies fly into like my windshield. So I can just imagine like how he, that poor little animal. And that's the thing, like you think about like what else could the people that work at the track do to like prevent the groundhogs from going in, but it's like you really can't do anything because like they go under the ground, I think. Like
They do.
yeah, they make their
Yeah.
little tunnels and everything and then they like pop up. So it's
Burrows.
like unless if you just get like more people, more marshals just standing around making sure like shoot go away. I it's
It
just like in
reminds me of the.
Singapore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking of.
It's just like Singapore with the lizards, like poor little groundhogs. That's all I have to say. They're probably like, "Whoa, what's this?" And that's the thing. They probably like are curious with all the noise going on and all the foot traffic. And at the end of the day, it is their home.
Mm-hmm.
So, poor guy. May he rest in peace. Which talking about like this is so weird to put it, but talking about like an animal being ran over. Apparently, at Le Mans, a bunny rabbit was ran over by a car, and they had a moment of silence for said bunny.
That's how it's done.
Exactly. Thank you. Yeah, would love that. It's yeah. But rest in peace, Bunny, and rest in peace, Groundhog. I I'm very sorry. I feel so bad for like the little animals. And then speaking of feeling bad, because we always feel bad when someone DNFs. At least I do. We had another one from Liam around the 56th lap.
The radio message I heard that they were just protecting the power unit. I wonder what the readings they saw that kind of like detect that.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Just just and it was weird. Like he went in for a pit stop, and then they're like, "We're DNFing the car," and we're like, everybody's just like, next thing you know, he's in the pit or like
Yeah.
in the garage, and you're just like, "Oh, okay." And his race engineer goes, "Sorry, Liam, we're protecting the power unit."
Which is very interesting because I know like they only have like a certain amount of like power unit changes and everything. So
I
it's
think
like,
it's 5 a year,
yeah,
maybe.
something like that. I'm like, you guys already gone through how many already? And we're not even, are we halfway through the season? We're almost halfway through. I
No,
don't know.
yeah.
We're somewhere in the season right now. I just know we're close to like summer break. If it's even summer break anymore, it's like 2, 3 weeks now. But yeah, it was really random. Really, really random. And it's gonna be fun to talk about. Speaking of random, Hannah, I that's I'm just like, oh my god, Hannah. Lando DNF literally at like the last few laps.
But it had to, but if he had successfully like passed Oscar with the aggressive moves, it probably would have been the overtake of the year.
It
If
definitely would have.
not, sorry, this might be a little insane to say, but the last couple years, if I'm being honest, because that would have been incredible. But it was a move that did not pan out, and I love Lando, and that was so sad.
I think he just overestimated the amount of space that he had because just the way it happened. Because I don't, he like barely touched the back wheel of Oscar's car, which in turn could have really affected both drivers even worse.
It was such bad damage for just like a tap.
It no, literally, it was so insane. But again, they're going like so fast too. So like, I'm just glad it wasn't worse.
Mm-hmm.
I feel for Oscar because I know like, I mean not for Oscar, for Lando, because everyone's always like counting down on him how like he performs and everything and all that stuff, and it's just like they always talk about like the papaya rules and everything, but
What does that mean?
Exactly. And like he said so himself, like there's gonna come a day like where they're gonna have to like race against each other. I mean, at the end of the day, like your biggest rival is your teammate. Um, and I know there's no number one driver, but like we know they're probably both like fighting for that spot. Anyways, all in all, drama in house papaya.
I know they were allowed to race and fight and be aggressive and have like aggressive driving for both, but like at some point, McLaren has to put their foot down, but has to put their foot down to the point where it's not favoritism.
Exactly.
But did anyone else hear the sassy radios from Max and George? Was it just me, or when Max drove beside George with the safety car, it was almost like he was challenging him?
You know, they just like to poke fun at each other. I think that's what it is. Like they're definitely like frenemies where it's like I wouldn't be surprised if they're like boys off track. Like obviously like not as close as like George and Alex or like Max and Danny or Max and Lando, but they probably laugh after like what, especially like with the memes and everything, like everyone talking about like it's gonna be like a war zone at turn one with the both of them together and everything. So it's like
I know.
I like seeing them up there because it's like what can happen? Nothing happened this time around, but it's like what can happen when they're next to each other? Or it's like, you know, when people say like Max and Lewis are up there at the front and everything, everyone's always just like, what's gonna happen with that? Like this is a flashback to like Abu Dhabi and everything. It's just like, I don't know. We're gonna have to see what happens next. So
yeah, but I will say that it was, if we didn't mention it after Lando's crash, it did bring out a safety car. I think we failed to mention that, which also meant that they finished the race behind safety car on the last two laps.
Scandalous.
Which was a little underwhelming.
Yeah, we had that happen. I think it was Monza. It happened where they finished a race under a safety car, and it's definitely underwhelming. I get it, why it happened, but I know like a lot of people on like Twitter and threads, they were just like, so I guess a race can end under a safety car, or I guess a race that like this is okay, and it's just like, oh my god, like here we go again, like valid. I get your anger, but it's like, oh my god, please, please,
It was
please.
2 laps.
Literally, two laps. It. Who knows what would have happened if that incident between Oscar and Lando didn't take place, you know? But
Lando would have overtaken Kimi.
yeah, yeah, that's for sure. And that would have been just insane, anyways, too, because we know how close that championship battle right now is between Oscar and Lando, too. So, like, Lando wants to maximize all his points and all this stuff, too. So, anyways. Now we can talk about Max and George, Lando and Oscar, the papaya drama and everything. But of course, our top three, we had George in P1. And then we had Max in P2. And we had Kimi, our rookie,
Whoop, whoop.
in P3.
And then, as we kind of mentioned, with George already dominating, the fastest lap went to George. Of course, this whole race weekend, it makes sense. And then driver of the day went to Kimi. That was well deserved.
Snaps for him because that kid, he's been making a name for himself for sure in the F1 world. Now, thinking about the race, once it's ended and everything, if you ask me, it was like a snooze fest. I didn't fall asleep, but I just wish we had a bit more drama, a bit more of that wheel-to-wheel action, overtakes and everything. We had a few DNFs. We had, 3? But still, I mean, it wasn't too exciting. However, when I typed that it was a snooze fest, we had the papaya drama happen, so you guys can just call me Raven because I can clearly predict the future. But I am happy, very happy about Kimi getting podium for the first time. Like I said, he's making an impression, he's making a name for himself, and I love to see it. As always, I just want Ferrari to get their ish together because I am over them not doing good. I'm tired of finishing in like 5th, 6th, 7th. I'm tired of it. I need podiums. I need 1-2 like lockout. I need 1-2 finishes. Please What do I need to do? What do we need to do, please?
I think the Tifosi deserve it at this point. Like literally,
We do.
they're the spirits are low.
Very, very low.
I think the most exciting thing for me were the groundhogs going across the track during the race. Sad for the other one. Lando and
Rest in peace.
Oscar's accident. Sassy Alex in the pit stop. Then or the sassy Alex and then the pit stops that caused like / change the lineup. So other than that, it lacks some, what do you call it? Je ne sais quoi that some other tracks and races have. But maybe I was just tired from Le Mans and the lack of sleep deprivation because I stayed up watching most of it. But it was just missing something.
It definitely was. It definitely was. It's just the pit stop strategies. I did enjoy it because, like you said, it mixed up the grid a bit and everything. But beyond Oscar, Lando, and the few DNFs we had, it was okay. I think even Lewis said, like in a post race interview, he was just like, when he had the floor damage, he was just kind of coasting himself. He was like, it wasn't really that much of an exciting race either. So
it was. I think the most exciting thing was really honestly after when like all the FIA drama started happening.
Yes.
But even then it was a little underwhelming because you like put everybody up and say all these issues and then you make us wait like what 4.5 hours only to be like,
nothing.
What?
Just warnings, that's all. Ha 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 ha. LOL. Like the only big thing that happened was that Lando got I think it was either 5 or a 10-second penalty. So it did bump him down to P18, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But besides that, nothing came out of that whole, like half the grid, come back here. We need to talk to you guys. Like, come on now, please.
Made everybody wait.
Yeah, I think they need to like come up with a quicker way to come up or to settle those disputes, those regulations, those whatever incidents in the quicker manner, because it's like thinking time zone wise, like at least for like you and I, Hannah, like the race was in that middle of the afternoon, so it wasn't too bad. But at the same time, it's like we're waiting like 4 or 5 hours, and it's like, okay, what's going on? Like we want to know how did it finish? Like who got moved? And yeah.
I couldn't imagine being in Europe right now and then waiting that late just to figure out whether or not who became where because of all the so-called issues.
Yeah. I would just be like, you know what? It's a tomorrow problem. I am going to sleep. That's definitely what I would do. But enough about Canada because we are off to Austria in 2 weeks. So you know what that means. It's time for our PGP predictions. Now, I said it once and I said it before. I'm over hoping for a Ferrari podium because let's be real, it's probably not going to happen. And I don't know for how long. I got to be realistic. It's no longer Delulu's the Salulu, fortunately for me. So I got Oscar in P1, P2 for Lando, and P3, Kimi. I'm going to give it to Kimi. He got it this weekend. I can see him doing it again. I would like to see him finish up higher. I wouldn't mind a rookie win. From him or Isaac, they're my like top 2 favorite rookies this year. I'd go like you guys would probably hear me scream like worldwide. But if you ask me, the fight between the Mercedes and the McLarens has been getting pretty good. I know Mercedes is still a little bit not too far away from the McLarens in the Constructors' Championship, but I'm excited to see how it continues with the season going on.
Literally. I also laughed because Mel, I think the opposite here, because I actually, in slight delulu, or I guess is the Sululu at this point, that I really want Lewis to get P1. And then P2 Lando and P3 Oscar. I say that with a little frustration, but I know it's true. I think Lewis needs a good comeback game, and I can't help but wonder if he's missing Mercedes right now, despite the craziness. especially after seeing George and Kimi just doing so well.
I think he might be. I wouldn't blame him. I think maybe just a little bit. You can definitely tell he's like happier in Ferrari, but he has such a legacy in Mercedes and put so much work in everything. So, but we'll just have to, we'll just have to see if he ever says anything about what he thinks. You know, let's see what comes of it. Now, if you've been living under a rock, you may not know a little movie called F1 Movie comes out next Friday, June 27th. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm going to see it probably IMAX. And the premiere is actually taking place right now in New York. New York. I wish I knew about this ahead of time because I probably would have want to go out there and see if I can run into a driver or two or all of them. Because literally every single driver is out there. I had all of them listed. Essentially, all of them are out there except Fernando, Lance, and Max. Aston Martin, I don't know why they don't like participate in a lot of like little things like this. I find it interesting. Max, I'm not really surprised about, but it's cool to see. The only note I have is Charles, please get a tailor because love the suit. Your girl looked fabulous, but the suit was so baggy.
Mm-hmm.
Please, Lewis, just please help the boy out. That's all I can say. And Lewis, of course, he was there because he's one of the producers of the movie too. So, it was just really, really cool to see them all together for the movie, and I'm excited to see what they say about it. I think they already had like an exclusive screening, but being at the actual premiere, I mean, it must just be a great moment.
Yeah. I know that they got to see, I don't know if all the drivers did or some of them when they were in Monaco.
Mm-hmm.
They got an exclusive view of the race or got to watch, or of the movie, or got to watch it. I will say, though, the girlfriends of the drivers that went to the premiere, their outfits,
slay.
Amazing.
Slay.
They left no room.
No crumbs.
But there was also a Ferrari car there. I don't know if y'all saw that. I popped in on the F1 Live a little bit just to see what was kind of going on and listen to some of the interviews. And I was like, oh,
that's cool.
There's a Ferrari car there.
I know they had the F1 cars. Excuse me. I know they had the F1 cars like lined up there at the premiere, like all of them. But I mean, it's still cool. I think they should have done the Lego cars again. But I'm just a fan of the Lego cars.
They were epic in Miami.
They really were. They really were. Are we good to close out?
Yeah. I think so.
And we can talk about the F1 movie all day, but don't worry. We most likely will have a recap review episode coming at you soon of the movie because I know a bunch of us are very excited to watch it. But to close out the episode, we have a moment of the weekend, and it goes to Kimi because, of course, he got his first podium in his F1 career, but he wasn't able to celebrate it as much because school is still in session. It just brought a little giggle to my face because I always forget. He's literally just a child, and well, not a child. He's a teenager, young adult, and he still got like exams and everything. So can you just imagine like finishing on the podium and it's like, ha ha ha, yay, woohoo, see you next time because I gotta like go take an exam and study for it.
He's such a baby. And that's a wrap on the Canadian Grand Prix. This race gave us a bit of chaos, potential penalties, or lack maybe thereof. Let us know your favorite moment of this Grand Prix on our socials everywhere Paddock Girls Podcast except X and Blue Sky where we are Paddock Girls Pod. Don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and follow us on socials so you don't miss a thing. Next stop is Austria, but before that we have a special treat for y'all. Our book club girlies next week will be talking all about Simone Salante's books Cross the Line and Ride With Me, so tune in as it's going to be a fun one. Thank you for tuning in and joining us in the paddock.
Bye.
Bye.